The lands of New Caledonia, 4,000 years ago, a series of islands in the South Pacific, home to many unique species even today. Birds and reptiles mostly rule here, though they have gotten quite small due to limited resources. Many birds still retain their ability to fly, others have gone more down to earth, spending the majority of their lives searching through the underbush and leaf litter. One such bird is the kagu, a carnivorous species that survives to this day, though only barely. This female is searching for insects that litter the forest floor, though she is wary. At less than half a meter high, it can be difficult to spot predators in the dense forests. Her cautiousness is justified, as moving through the low-lying plants is one of the island's top predators. Crunching leaves underfoot is a crocodilian, but a very peculiar one compared to surviving species, as this Mekosuchus is fully terrestrial, standing on long limbs adapted to run prey down and crush them with his short blunt jaws. But he is only 1.2 meters long, a far cry from his distant crocodile cousins in Australia. The kagu spots him and wastes no time before lifting her head up and scurrying away at top speed, her blue form vanishing amongst the green and browns of the forest. The Mekosuchus plods along in search of his own meal, having warmed up in the morning sun. His kind is the last of the Mekosuchian family, who were once widespread across Australia and the wider Pacific. This species, Mekosuchus inexpectus, stands alone on these small islands, oblivious to their group's plight. To this Mekosuchus, it's just another day taking a stroll through his territory. His massive eyes mean he can search for prey even in low light, helping him pick out animals that are well hidden. Though his stumpy jaws are quite unusual compared to modern crocs, they are still adept at tearing flesh and crushing hard-shelled prey, such as beetles and snails. The Mekosuchus soon finds a potential hard-shelled prey item, though this one might be a little out of his league. Munching on the various low-lying plants is a species of Myelania, an ancient group of turtle, also native to Australia and many South Pacific islands. The horned reptile hasn't seen the Mekosuchus' approach, but at a little over a meter long and covered by a thick shell, it's no wonder he seems content minding his own business. The Mekosuchus tries his luck and moves towards the Myelania, running right up to him before being detected. The predator lifted himself up and placed both forelimbs on the herbivore's side before attempting to bite into it. But the shell is too round for him to get a grip with his jaws, and too hard for his teeth to penetrate, so he pointlessly scrapes his target's armor in vain. The Myelania finally notices that he is under attack, and none too fond of this, turns his body to bite the carnivore's legs. The Mekosuchus notices this and pushes off the turtle, backing up slightly, both reptiles now facing each other. Seeing us off the target, the croc lunges forward, aiming to bite the Myelania's neck, but his target is quicker to react than he could have ever imagined, and as he darts around, the Myelania chomps back, biting down on the edge of the Mekosuchus' shoulder. Surprised, the little croc jumps back, losing some scales and skin to the Myelania's sharp beak. The turtle remains still, jaws wide open, a small section of flesh hanging from the top jaw. No longer confident, the Mekosuchus gives up and moves away from the sturdy reptile. He wasn't cracking that shell today. A few hours pass, and the Mekosuchus male continues to trot through his home, finding one snail to ease his hunger. He is not just searching for food, however. It is the mating season, and he is looking for the various females whose territory overlap with his own, hoping they are receptive. His search brings him down to the river, where in the distance, he can see multiple Gallilooni, either swimming across the water, wading in the shallows, or striding across lily pads. His focus isn't on them, however, but on the female he's been looking for. Down by the shoreline, feeding on the body of a young Sciornis. The female pulls her jaws out of the bird's body and looks around for threats, spotting the male in the process. She ignores him and goes back to feeding even as the male approaches, eager for her attention. When he thinks he is close enough, he faces the side of his body to her and pulls his head and tail up as high as he can so she can get a good look at him. He then emits a croak-like click from his throat, the species version of a war cry. The female pulls her head out of her meal again and looks over the displaying male, before going back to eating, ignoring him. Undeterred, the ambitious suitor holds his position and croaks away. It takes a while, but eventually the male starts to think maybe she isn't interested. Thinking maybe she needs a better angle, he lowers his body and waddles up to her, getting so close they are almost touching. She still doesn't take notice, so the male croaks again, and this time gets a reaction. Startled from him suddenly being so close, the female jumps into the air, gaining quite a bit of airtime for a croc. Upon landing, she hisses and runs at him. The male recognizes that immediately, and turns around to bolt away from the angry female as she snaps at his tail. After a few seconds, she gives up the chase, but the flustered male keeps running just to be safe. By the time he turns around, the female has gone back to feeding, but with one eye monitoring the over-enthusiastic male. Taking the hint, the male in question keeps his distance. He'll have to wait for her to finish her meal, after which maybe she'll be a little more open to his displays. Hello fellow travelers and welcome back. Today we will be breaking down the last of the land crocs, Mekosuchus. Mekosuchus was a genus of the crocodilia order that lived in Australasia between 28 million and 3,000 years ago. Now this genus is part of the larger family Mekosuchinae that were also spread across much of Australasia and grew to many sizes, had different body plans and filled many niches. Today's video will only be focusing on the Mekosuchus genus however, and the 4 recognized species within it. Let's quickly name the 4 species in order of discovery. First is M. inexpectus, found in 1981 on the islands of New Caledonia, and named in 1987. The name inexpectus was given because finding croc remains of any kind was not expected by the researchers that discovered it. Multiple individuals of the species have been discovered, making it the most well understood of the genus. The second species was found in 1997 in Queensland, Australia, and named M. whitehunterensis, after the site it was discovered, the White Hunter site. It is the oldest of the genus, having lived between 28 and 22 million years ago, and suggests the family originally evolved in Australia. Next was M. sanderi, also found in Queensland, Australia. Discovered in 2001, and lived during the early Miocene between 23 and 15 million years ago. Finally, we have M. caupocusi, found in Vanuatu in 2002, named after the Prime Minister of Vanuatu at the time, Donald Caupocuus, who strongly supported the expedition. It lived between 3,200 and 2,700 years ago, though the only remains are a partial maxilla and the end of the tibia and fibia. Overall, the genus is known to be quite small, getting to between 50 centimeters to 2 meters in length. They were fully terrestrial, and while they may still have had a sprawled gait, they wouldn't have dragged their bellies across the ground. They had short and blunt snouts, with varying teeth between each species, and proportionally large eyes. Now just to make it clear, these aren't juveniles of larger species, as the remains show clear evidence of them being either mature or near maturity when they died, such as fusion between the neural centra and the neural spine. Becoming terrestrial meant that the group underwent many physical changes separating them from their semi-aquatic relatives. For instance, modern crocodilians have their eyes, ears and nostrils raised so they can breathe and use their other senses while hiding the rest of their bodies underwater. Mekosuchus' eyes are not as elevated, sitting more on the side of their heads, as are their nostrils. The eyes are massive, and has led to the theory that this group may have been nocturnal, or at least more active during the dawn and dusk periods. The whole skull was raised compared to the flat skulls of surviving crocodilians, but they were also much shorter and blunter, as they didn't have to move their heads through water. The teeth vary between each species. not just in number, but in shape and therefore likely usage as well. White hunterensis and sanderi have compressed smooth blade-like teeth, while Inexpectus's posterior teeth were wide and bulbous. While we have no teeth for Calpocusi, its tooth sockets suggest similar dentition to Inexpectus's. The genus also had thick, robust necks and strong neck muscles to aid their jaws, and with this, we can piece together what they may have preferred to feed on. Modern crocs have pointed conical teeth, perfect for holding on to prey and either pulling them into water to drown them or holding on as they thrash back and forth to kill or dismember them. The Mekosuchus species didn't use water to hunt, so in the case of the Australian species, their blade-like teeth would cut into prey, causing as much damage as possible, and if they got away, would likely succumb to blood loss. Their teeth seem best suited for tearing flesh from carcasses, with the aid of such powerful neck muscles. They could easily strip meat from both self-made kills and scavenged kills of larger carnivores. One tactic of modern crocodilians they may not have used, however, is the death roll, as being so small it would have been far less effective and more energy consuming than just thrashing their heads back and forth. For the island species, it's thought they would have used their thick back teeth to crush the shells of hard-shelled insects and mollusks. Being confined to small islands, the two Mekosuchus species were some of the largest carnivores present, so likely remain small, as being bigger would require more resources, hence why they developed teeth capable of cracking even well-protected prey, to make use of anything and everything. So why did those of mainland Australia remain small? This is because Australia was mostly dominated by various croc species, all filling different niches, from large terrestrial ambush predators to waterbound piscivores. The Mekosuchus species fit into the small predator/scavenger niche, similar to what we see with modern monitor lizards. In terms of where they fit on the croc family tree, currently it is believed their closest living relatives are actual crocodiles, being more closely related to them than, say, alligators or gharials. It should be noted that there is quite a large time gap between when the Australian species lived and when the island species lived. Between 20 and 15 million years, in fact. This is not to say the Australian species went extinct during that time, just that we haven't found nearly enough fossils in between then. It's theorized that the genus originated in Australia, and then moved out to various islands during that time. This could have been during the times when land bridges connected them, or that the ancestors of the island species just swam there, or drifted on natural rafts. When they arrived is speculated upon, with estimates ranging between 23 million and less than 5 million years ago. It's not known exactly when the mainland species of Mekosuchus went extinct, but they likely died out along with most of Australia's large fauna during or not long after the last ice ages, as the continent became hotter and drier, not able to adapt as their environment changed too quickly around them. The last of the Mekosuchians, those being Inexpectus and Calpocus, survived on their small islands to as recently as 3,000 years ago, with some remains indicating Inexpectus may have made it to only 1,700 years ago. While it's hypothesized that the arrival of humans may have been the reason for their disappearance, there is no direct evidence for this, as most of Inexpectus's remains date to before humans settled the islands. Of course, it should be noted that humans may have indirectly affected them, by destroying their habitat and introducing pigs and rats that could have fed on the reptile's eggs. The loss of Mekosuchus marks a much more significant event than just the loss of a single genus or indeed an entire family. The ancestors of modern crocodilians, the Pseudotsuchians, appeared during the early Triassic almost 250 million years ago, and this may sound odd, but they were originally fully terrestrial, with only later groups branching off and becoming semi-aquatic at various times throughout prehistory. During all that time, there have presumably always been land crocs, so the period we are living in right now is the first time in almost 250 million years that there are no terrestrial Pseudotsuchians, and the last one only died out a few thousand years ago. Something that's difficult to properly wrap one's head around, I feel. But in an effort to not make the episode too saddening, what do you think of Mekosuchus? the last of the land crocs. And for my question of the week, which of the 4 species is your favorite? What lesser known extinct reptile would you like me to do a breakdown on next? And until then, please like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching.